All right. Welcome, welcome. I'm Dr. Hayes with Crossing Point Church. I happen to have the privilege of being the pastor of the Crossing Point Christian Church, affectionately known as the Cross. We are so glad that you joined us in this series this week where we're going through Crime Prevention Month. And so we have a series of videos that my hope is that you'll be able to attend and look and learn a lot of great information. Remember, all of these things can be found on the Cross app. So all you have to do is go to your Google store, your Android store, and you can download Crossing Point Church app. And when you do, you have all kind of wonderful content. And so we're so excited to have you here today. I have with us a wonderful attorney, and she is a godsend to the church. She is a blessing. She is a mother. She is a wife. She is an extraordinary attorney. She is active in the community with civil rights. And so as we bring her in, and she is going to be talking in regards to navigating the criminal justice system. And so I'm super excited about this particular talk because many times we don't know exactly what to do when something happens, God forbid. And so the hope is that this information, which is going to be memorialized on the Cross app, so you'll always be able to go back and hear this wonderful information from this awesome attorney. And so I thought of no one better to have on than attorney Mary King. So welcome, attorney Mary King. Welcome to navigating the justice system with at Crossing Point Church. And so, I'm just so appreciative of you. And, I've known you for years, and you're part of the Cross. And so, the church attorney. So, we're good to have you. Oh, I'm knocking the camera over. So, welcome.
Thank you for having me. And I truly think that this will be a blessing to the community as all of the other many things that the cross does.
Yes. Okay. So, I want to take this time as we have a limited amount of time, about 45 minutes to 50 minutes. Um, but I want to walk through the process. Okay. And I encourage everybody who's listening right now, send your questions in because we're going to save some time at the end. Um, and attorney King has agreed to answer questions. And so that's a blessing. So you're going to be able to get great legal advice about circumstances. And I'm talking about circumstances as it relates to what to do if you're in this particular situation, or your child or somebody you know and love is in a particular situation. Now, if you want anything beyond that, you're going to have to call her privately. but this sake, we're going to kind of focus on just the nuts and bolts of the criminal justice system. So let's start and let's kind of walk through this real quick because I want to start at so you have been pulled over because right now we're in a time with the civil unrest. There are a lot of things in the media about unfair treatment of especially minorities. And so I want you to kind of talk to that. And so if you can, let's take it from I've been pulled over or something has happened in the community. Well, whatever the case may be, now I'm in the back of the car, of the police car, and I'm headed downtown or I'm headed to the local police station. So if you can pick it up from there and kind of talk to everybody about what should one do once they have been handcuffed, once they're in the police car and they're pulling off, taking you to jail? What happens after that?
I'm going to start just a little bit before that.
Okay.
One is be aware of your surroundings and be aware of the company that you keep. And I'll expound upon that. One is that be aware of your surroundings. Know what community that you're in, because yes, it is unfair, but racial profiling exists. And if you are in certain neighborhoods, the likelihood of you getting pulled over is greater than if you were not. So, and they will turn minor traffic stops into arrest. So always be aware of where you are. Make sure, and I don't even do it, but make sure that you follow all the traffic laws, because if you fail to signal at a turn or changing lanes, that's probable cause for them to stop you. And that greatly increases in neighborhoods that are over policed, i.e. Black neighborhoods. Also, on the other side of that, if you are in a predominantly white neighborhood, then you're racially profiled, as in you look suspicious. So just be aware of your surroundings and be aware of your actions. Now, for the younger generation, I would say be aware of the company that you keep, because if you're stopped, and although you may not partake in illegal drugs or substances, and your friend does, and your friend has those items on them in your vehicle, then that is cause for you also to be arrested. So I would start there. Be aware of your surroundings and be aware of the company that you keep. Now on to the arrest. When you are initially stopped, and I've spoken to a couple of colleagues and we're kind of on the fence about this, but when you're stopped, for females, I would say make sure that if it's at night, make sure you stop in a well-lit area. You can do that by putting your hazard lights on and navigating your vehicle at a slower pace so that you can stop in a safe location for the stop. I would stress that when you are stopped and you wait until the officer comes to the window, you wait until they ask you for your license and registration, and then you ask them, can you get it from wherever? If it's in the glove box, if it's in your console, if it's in your back pocket. And I stress that because, again, a traffic stop can quickly escalate depending on the cops how they perceive your actions. So
Okay.
if you reach for something in this heightened society that we're living in right now, with how police treat especially minorities, if you're reaching for something, they automatically think you're reaching for a gun or you're reaching for a weapon. So I would personally say, and I know it's not fair, but your goal is to make it home. So I would say, officer, my license or my registration is in the glove box, or it's in my wallet, and my wallet is in my back pocket. May I retrieve it? Once you give them those items, then if everything is good to go, then you go on about your business. If not, and it does escalate to an arrest, they are supposed to tell you what the traffic stop is for. If they see, because everything has to be in plain sight. So if they see marijuana on your console or your ashtray, then that's probable cause for them to arrest you. If you have outstanding warrants, then they're just executing a warrant and they can arrest you at that point. So just be mindful of your actions and how you're perceived. So now you've been arrested for whatever reason and you're sitting in the back of the car. I tell all my clients, don't say anything because it can be used against you no matter what you say. We are under this misconception of Fourth Amendment violation, search and seizure. If you're under arrest, they have the right to pat you down for safety reasons. And then they will search your vehicle as policy for inventory. So if you have anything in your vehicle, it will be found at that point, and there's possible additional charges that can be brought against you. But, okay.
Let me ask you this, Attorney King. And thank you. That is great information. And I think that is so important. If you're listening to this right now, I know you're getting some great information. Don't forget to like and to share as we are talking. We want as many people as possible. This is streaming over YouTube platform, Facebook platform, Instagram platform, the Cross app platform. And so we really appreciate everybody spreading the word. Let me ask you this. I know you mentioned in this scenario, car. What if, because many times we carry pocket knives in our car, we'll carry knives in our car, you know, something along those lines, just, you know, a razor or something in case something happens, a box cutter for protection. If the cops, the police find something like that, how do they treat that? Will they say, oh, there's another charge, you know, you had a box cutter in your car, or maybe it's a steak knife in your car? Have you experienced anything along those lines?
Well, generally, if you disclose it, then you're fine. They're more concerned with concealed handguns.
Okay.
Things that are considered illegal. In certain situations, you can't have like police grade pepper spray. That's illegal. But if you say, hey, you know, I have a box cutter or something, just let them know that that's there and they may come across it. But unless you are perceived as reaching for it and they didn't know it, then they may, depending on the cops and the situation, at that point, they may say, oh, you had a deadly weapon or something. But
Okay.
unless that escalates and you're reaching for it to use it in the commission of, you know, attacking someone, just simply disclose it.
And if you are, you know, many times, and I hate to assume about this, but I'm gonna make a general statement. I have seen more arrests at reunions, family reunions, you know, you having a party at your house or something along those lines. So if, say, you know, your kid or yourself, if somebody who owns the home is arrested, does that rule of searching the house apply as it does for going through a vehicle?
No, because the purpose of going through the vehicle subsequent to an arrest is just for the inventory, is to
Okay.
make sure that all your personal property is secure.
Okay.
They would need a search warrant issued and signed by a judge to search your home.
Okay. And I've seen situations where an officer comes and knocks on the door. I remember years ago when I was young, um, an officer came to our house, but they were looking for my brother, and so I didn't know who they were. They were in plain clothes, and he had been hanging out with some of the wrong people, and they were, you know, I guess trying to grab him and question him or whatever the case may be. And so And so, you know, this was a long time ago, but the guy was saying, hey, you know, open the door, you know, I'm looking for, is he there? And I said, no, he didn't have any type of search warrant, anything like that. Well, you know, I cracked the door open out to say, hey, he's not here. And the guy, you know, pushed his way in. You know, it's a good thing it was just me and my cousin there. Nothing happened, but he ended up leaving, or they ended up leaving. But, you know, I often wonder how legal that was, or, you know, when our kids are at home and there's a disturbance, you know, that may be in a general area and they knock on the door, you know, and there's a fear about opening the door. Now, again, I want to get back, you know, over to navigating, but I think these are kind of situations that, you know, we run into. Do we open the door? Do we not open the door? You know, or, you know, if they say open the door or let me in, you know, what do we do about that? When do we open the door?
You do not have to open the door. If they're not serving a warrant, if
Mm.
they do not, first of all, if they do not announce who they are, you have no clue who these people are or what their intentions are, you do not have to open the door. If they are serving a warrant, then you can allow them in. But if you are a minor child, you let them know that you are a minor and your parents aren't home. And they need to come back and execute the warrant when there's an adult at the home.
Mm.
I mean,
If
that's,
there is not a warrant and they're just saying, hey, we want to ask you some questions, then you don't have to open the door.
no.
Okay. And then you can just go eat popcorn.
You can go eat popcorn, but I definitely will call parents, let them know what's going on. But no, they do not have the right to come in and ask you questions. That is strictly volunteer. You are not under arrest. You're not under investigation. They do not have a warrant. Therefore, you do not have to um, answer any questions or let them into your property at that point.
Let me ask you this. And again, you know, we're talking about right before they put you in the car, you know, either they stopped you or, you know, they come to the house. You see oftentimes, and a lot of videos are out there where, and I've been stopped like this personally multiple times when, you know, when I was younger, walking down the street, you know, and the officer says, hey, hey, where you going? Or, you know, did you just come from over there? Or, you know, we're looking for, you know, whatever the case may be. How does one handle that? Um, and they say, well, you know, do you have ID on you? You know, and the like. How does one handle that?
In that situation, I would say on a case by case basis, you
Mm.
don't have to identify yourself unless you are in some type of traffic incident or if they're trying to make a positive identification on another situation that they know you were involved in. You know, they have three people and they're trying to distinguish who's who. Then you tell them who you are. But um, just the old stop and frisk, that's illegal.
Okay.
However, as Black people, as minorities, we're trying to make it home.
Yeah. Sure.
So just to keep things from escalating,
Mm.
you know, give them your name. But it's they don't have a right to ask you, and you don't have to give it to them.
Yeah.
However, the ultimate goal here is always to make it home.
Yeah. And I say that because, you know, and this is when I was in college, you know, and younger, you know, it's a group of us walking down the street, you know, in a unfamiliar place where, you know, it was in a side of town where, you know, groups of Black young men are not just always walking around kind of thing. But so that's great information. Again, welcome. This is Crime Prevention Month. We're talking about navigating the criminal justice system. I am Dr. Hayes pastor of Crossing Point Christian Church, and we are speaking with esteemed attorney Mary King. And so now, and we're walking through this criminal justice system. So we've been arrested. You're headed downtown. Okay. You say, don't say anything. You're not obligated to say anything. Once they book you, all right, or when they're booking you, what happens at that particular, what is booking and what happens at that point? Is it like the movies where you only get one phone call, and what if people don't answer, you know, that kind of stuff? Are you in trouble?
Okay. And I apologize for this. Let's go back just for a quick second.
Okay.
Prior to getting arrested, especially in our day and our time, everyone is encouraged now, or encouraging each other to videotape or notify someone of the traffic stop. I was speaking to a colleague earlier about this topic, and we have split ideas of how we should handle it. But either could work. And if you feel that the traffic stop is going left, use one of the two. And one is, I know that they were saying with iPhones, you can ask Siri to record. So record it on your phone. Or, as my colleague suggested, call 911 and have them to record your interaction with the police officer. And what he said to me makes a lot of sense. If it escalates, then that 911 call has to be produced at trial. And further, if they're not following the procedures that they should follow, and it's memorialized in that 911 call, then how are they going to refute their own evidence? So I strongly recommend that, because we have seen all of the cases now that are in the media. They've been memorialized with video, whether it's from the individual or from bystanders, but it has brought light, and it documents what exactly took place. So it's no longer what the cop said versus what you said. We have video evidence of what took place. And then after you are arrested and taken into custody, they should read you your Miranda rights. And your Miranda rights are basically your Fifth Amendment right. You have the right to remain silent. And then if you don't, have, that's why I said don't say anything, because whether you say nothing that incriminates yourself, or even if you do say something incriminating, they will use it against you. You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to an attorney. Before any questioning, you have, if you are unable to afford an attorney, they will appoint an attorney to you free of charge. Also, people don't understand this as well. If you agree to start talking and you say, maybe I shouldn't, at the point you say, I want an attorney, they have to immediately stop questioning you. Yeah. This is where a lot of people get in trouble. They want to talk and talk and talk and talk themselves into a corner, or talk themselves into 10 years in prison. So don't say anything until you get an attorney. Okay, now we've been arrested, we've been taken into custody, we've been read our Miranda rights, and we're going to booking. So they usually take you down to the central, here is downtown Baker Street. In certain situations, depending on where you're arrested at. It depends on what precinct you're arrested in. But they take you through booking, which is basically you're getting your mugshot. So they're photographing you, they're fingerprinting you, they're taking all of your measurements such as height, weight, checking you for tattoos, pretty much just cataloging you. And then at that point, you're they put you in a holding cell, and they verify with the DA whether or not they're going to file, formal charges against you. So at that point, when formal charges are filed, then you appear before a judge or magistrate, depending on where you are, whether it's the county or the city. And at that point, formal charges are read to you. So they tell you, go ahead.
Let me jump in right here, because Attorney King, many times when you're talking about formal charges, is there a certain period of time in which that is supposed to happen? No, because you hear about, many times people lingering, for a minute before, they are before the judge. So there's no set time period.
There's no set time period. Some are faster than others. Because I was trying to determine that earlier today, and there's no set time period as far as the booking process. And this is a tactic of cops. Like, they'll arrest you on a Friday, and so you have the long weekend, and then say Monday is a holiday. Well, you're not going to see anybody until that Tuesday. I know a lot of small towns will do that. So even Tuesday, if you go before the judge and there's like, oh, there's not enough evidence, we're going to just, dismiss this. You've spent the weekend in jail.
And so when do you get your phone call? Is that true? You only get one phone call, like the movies?
In most situations, you may not even get a phone call. And when you get that phone call, it may be well into the process. Because in a lot of situations, especially in movies, they say, you get your one phone call. And that's not always the case.
Wow. And you have to know that number by heart. Are you able to use your phone that they've confiscated to?
No. When they book you, they take all your personal belongings and catalog it and inventory it. And, they put you in the jumpsuit. They take all your personal clothing, all your personal items, and they jumpsuit you.
Okay. And I know in Harris County is the orange jumpsuit.
Yeah.
And it's yellow and pink and all kind of other colors, other places. And so it sounds like we need to memorize, somebody's number. I know many times now, our phones do all the calling for us, but it sounds like we need to memorize some numbers, especially very important numbers, of individuals who can at least get the information to the person that you need.
Yes,
Okay.
because you will not have that Android or iPhone to call for you.
Okay. All right. So now we booked, we're in the jumpsuit, we found somebody to call, or we've been formally arraigned. Is that correct? Is that when you're charged?
We're getting to that point.
Okay.
Once you're charged, meaning that the DA says there's probable cause for the arrest, and you go before the magistrate, and the magistrate says, okay, Officer Lee pulled you over, and upon approaching your vehicle, they smelled marijuana, which gave them probable cause to search your vehicle. Upon search, they found, a baggie of what appears to be marijuana. So they're arresting you and charging you with possession of marijuana. And then once that happens, then you're charged. And then again, they read you your Miranda rights and, ask you about, attorney. Do you want an attorney? If not, one will be appointed to you. And then after that point, you appear before a judge again, which is your arraignment. At that point, you should have either attorney or they'll give you additional time to get an attorney. But again, the charge is read to you again. And at that point, you plead guilty or not guilty.
Okay. Can you change that plea at any time?
You can change the plea at any time. And a lot of times that's what generally happens. But in the grand scheme of it, you can change that plea anytime prior to a verdict being rendered.
Okay.
If you do not plea, the judge will automatically enter a not guilty plea on your behalf.
All right. Okay. So I've gotten a phone call. Somebody I know and love has gone through this particular process. So many times parents or, individuals or friends, grandparents are faced with this. And let me also say, everybody who's listening, thank you for tuning in. Again, I'm Dr. Hayes, pastor of Crossing Point Church, on with attorney Mary King, and we're talking about the subject, navigating the justice system, the criminal justice system, and going from your arrest all the way through to bail and beyond. And so please send your questions in. We want to save some time for questions. Our time is almost up, but please send your questions in now, because we definitely want to answer those. Okay, so I'm a loved one, right? I'm a friend, grandparent, what have you. Now, when I go there, there's something called, I guess, bonding out.
It's bail or bond. So at the arraignment, if it's a charge that you can either bail out on, the judge will, generally the prosecutor will make a recommendation, either no bail, or they would say, whatever amount within that category of your charge. And the issue with it is that it's supposed to ensure that you return to court, but in most cases, it's a punishment, because a lot of families aren't able to come up with that money to get their loved one out. The difference between bail and bond, they're interchangeable, and they essentially mean the same thing. It's just who is providing the money. With bail, if your loved one has the $10,000 themselves, they take it to the clerk's office, they pay their money, you're released. If they don't, then they go to a bonds company and they pay 10%. Some cases, depending on the company, they can charge up to like 20%, but it's generally 10%, but it could be up to 20% of that $10,000. And then the bond company submits the paperwork to the courts indicating that you have paid this bond. They're insuring this bond in order for your loved one to be released.
Okay, so if I get this straight, either you can pay, if you have the money, say it's $5,000, the bail is $5,000. If you have the money, you can go to the court, write out the $5,000 check or debit. I think they probably just take it debit or cashier's check. And then you are released. Now, is that on your own recognizance, or?
Well, if you're released on your own recognizance, you don't have to pay anything.
Okay, so sometimes they're not going to charge you a bail. They just said, we trust you're going to come back.
Right.
Okay.
That's the purpose of the bail. It's to ensure that you are coming back to subsequent court hearing.
Okay.
But the way it's been used in the criminal justice system, which is one of the issues that is being fought now, especially in Harris County, is
Yes.
that being treated more so as a form of punishment, because if you are poor and your family is poor, you are unable to come up with this money, so you sit in jail
Okay.
for
All right.
however.
I want to get to that particular point. So let's talk about, we don't have the money for bail. It's say $5,000 or $10,000. So we don't have that sitting around. Many families don't have that just sitting around. So now it's time to go to the bonds person. And many times, everybody has signs up. They're around the jail, there are bail bondsmen everywhere. Or how do you navigate who's right, a good one or not a good one? Does it matter?
It's usually word of mouth.
Okay.
And a lot of times, if you just go to the clerks, they have preferential referrals, as I call them,
Okay.
and but it's a standard practice. So majority of them have to follow the same rules and guidelines.
Okay.
So it's
Okay. Good. Good. And I'm just kind of hurrying along because I want to make sure we get to, because we have people sending in questions. So I want to make sure we get to our questions. So 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 if you only have to pay 10, maybe 20% of the bail to the bail's bondsman, what's the catch with
they
the
put
bail bondsman?
they put up the surety, so they're ensuring that you're going to come, but they
Okay.
also outline all these rules.
Okay.
And
Okay. Talk about the rules.
well, I mean, it's kind of like being on probation. You have to report. They have to know where you are. They have to report. Um, and, you run the risk, if your family puts up collateral, you run the risk of them forfeiting that collateral if you don't show up to court.
Oh, wow.
And there's the restrictions of the courts themselves. You have to abstain from illegal use of drugs, alcohol. You can't be around certain people. Um, you have to make sure that you report in if any changes in your address and work. So it's kind of like Big Brother. They're gonna make sure that you do what you're supposed to do. So in addition to all of the restrictions that the court may place upon you, the bail bondsman has restrictions as well that you have to adhere to, so that you don't forfeit any of the monies or collaterals that you've put up.
And so if that particular person does not show up, then you owe the full amount to that bail bondsman.
And they will come looking for you.
Wow. Okay. And they have a legal right to come looking for you. Is that,
They have a legal right to come looking for you.
yeah. And I say that because there's been a lot of people I know, a lot of grandparents, a lot of parents. They, I've seen people multiple times mortgage their homes, put their homes up, for their kids or for their grandkids, and just to have their grandkids not show. And so then they had to go out and take a second lien to pay off the bail bondsman. And I mean, it's been horrible. And so, it sounds like, if grandparents, if parents, if uncles and aunties don't really know what their friends don't really know what they're getting into, when they're signing for them, then they could really take a huge hit financially, and that could be a problem.
Yes, and I'll keep it brief, but I'll give you a prime example. I had a friend from Mississippi give me a call, and she was asking me my opinion. There was a family member that was charged, and the judge let them out. Let them out, and 2 weeks later, they were involved in another criminal activity that was more severe than the initial one. and they were contemplating mortgaging their house to get her out.
Oh. Oh.
So, and my thing was, let her sit there, because if the judge showed her leniency, she got out, and then she, in less than 2 weeks, she was involved in another criminal activity. You don't know what her situation is going to be in another 2 weeks, and then you could forfeit your home. You
Yeah.
get, so just be really mindful that your loved one is going to do what they're supposed to do.
Okay.
Because a lot is at stake. You know, our homes are our legacy. That's
Sure.
our wealth. And if we lose our homes, where are we going to be? And then, and
That's
there's
true. Yeah. Okay. So now you're out on bond. What happens after that? You have to come back to court. And when you come back to court, what happens in between that particular time quickly? Either you have a court-appointed attorney, or maybe you went out and got an attorney. How do you find a good private attorney? What's reasonable? And so if you could talk about those two things, for somebody that say is modest in their income, they don't have a lot of savings, and they don't make a lot of money, they may be lower middle income or poor. What happens in that interim?
Well, if you are given a court-appointed attorney and you're not happy with it, okay, I'm going to go out and get my own attorney. Houston is inundated with attorneys.
Okay.
You to Houston Bar Association for a referral.
Okay. All right. You went mute on me. All right. So there you go.
All right. But there's so many referral services throughout Houston that you can be put in contact with very good attorneys.
Okay. List those again. The Bar Association is a great place to call.
Yes.
Uh-oh. Well, 1 second, Attorney King, we can't hear you. For
I'm
some
sorry.
reason, you went mute again.
Okay.
All right, but I think I heard you, the Houston Bar Association.
Yes.
And what else?
The African American Bar Association.
Okay. All right, good. African American Bar Association.
But if you're just downtown, you will always run into attorneys. I'm on the executive committee for the NAACP, and we can provide you with referrals.
Okay. All right. Good. Good. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So, so that court-appointed attorney, I believe we know that's free. They're going to represent you. Are there good court-appointed attorneys? I know many times people think that they're working, with the prosecutors, and they're really no good. They're really just trying to churn and burn you. Go and take a plea deal, get on out of here. So is that a myth? Is that real?
Oh, that is real.
Oh.
We are lucky that that in Harris County they have a public defender's office, so that is also an option for you. And
tell us about that real quick.
Well, with the public defender's office, the difference between court-appointed, that's one of the major issues of Harris County litigation, is that the judge appoints the court-appointed attorney. So when you have, the judge appointing these cases to a particular attorney, then there's that, okay, I'm going to do what you say because you're giving me cases.
Okay.
Also, they don't necessarily have the resources to handle all of the volume of cases that they receive. So, and I'm not saying all court-appointed attorneys are bad, but that's the issue that they're seeing, and they will push you into taking a plea, even if you have a winnable case, because they want to stay in favor of the judge, and the judge just wants to push the case along.
Okay.
The public defender is your chief attorney, and I say cheap in that they are paid by the county, they're paid by the state to represent you, versus you going out and hiring an attorney that's going to charge you.
All right, 1 second, you paused. But while you are you're coming back online, the public defender's office, as I've heard you, is they're paid by the county and to defend you. Okay, all right. And you were saying something right behind that?
What I was saying is they have more of your interests at heart than I would say the court appointed. The court appointed is just trying to push it.
Okay.
And what I've found, speaking to individuals that have come to the NAACP and have come to expungement clinics that I have attended and volunteered at, is that you may have a winnable case, but you don't want to sit in jail for 2 or 3 months waiting for your trial. So you just want to get out. So when your attorney comes and says, hey, they've offered you a plea, and a plea is saying you're guilty, then you have that on your record now.
Yeah.
And that in itself can prevent you in the future from obtaining jobs and housing.
So, yeah, that's really a good point, because many of our youth, that's the first thing that happens with parents. They just want to get it behind them. They just want to get them out. They plead for a lesser charge. One thing I've always heard and seen is this is like a unicorn, this expungement. And they say, oh, it's going to drop off your record, but I found nothing just drops off your record that I know of. And a lot of times that verbiage is given to parents seemingly, and they're like, oh yeah, no problem at all. But by the time they get through with their probation, by the time, a few years go by, and they are expecting it to drop off magically, it doesn't happen. And then just to come to find out, you have to go back before the judge, because I believe that you should have made that agreement ahead of time. Is that right? How does that work? Do I have that wrong?
Well, you can have what's called deferred adjudication. In those situations, if you complete what they ask of you, then that case is dismissed, and then that will be removed from your record. But if you take a plea deal, that means you're pleading guilty to a lesser charge, and you can't expunge guilty conviction.
Really?
I mean,
Wow.
there's a difference between expunging, which means to remove from your record, or the disclosure part, where you can just have it, part of it not removed, but you can have it kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Redacted almost.
Okay. And so when is an expungement? What type of situation would that happen in?
Say, for instance, that you were arrested for something, you were charged with it, but you were ultimately found not guilty, or it was dismissed. That is a ripe case or charge for expungement.
But if it is dismissed, wouldn't it automatically drop off?
No.
Really? Wow.
The only time that I'm really aware that it just automatically drops off is if there's been a deferred adjudication, which is basically saying, okay, if you don't get into any trouble within whatever time that the judge allots, then we're going to dismiss this case. And
Okay.
then once they dismiss it, then it comes off. But
Now, I know that many people I've heard, as they go and work, and we're going to take some questions after this because I see several questions. We're going to try to get through them as fast as possible because our time is almost up. And let me see. Oh, yeah. So our time is almost up. So I've seen a lot of people who I remember after 9/11, how a lot of people who were working at sensitive places, as it was deemed, like chemical plants, the waterfront, they went back and did a background check, and a lot of people who had things that were sealed, I believe, apparently that particular background check, a lot of in the community they say it's an FBI background check or something, but it revealed things that a normal background check would reveal. So a lot of people were let go. So how does that relate to expungement or?
well, that's what I'm saying. If it's a case that has been dismissed, then it's right for expungement. If not, then it's that redacted. It was not going to show up on just a cursory background.
Okay.
It's not. I don't want to use the term sealed because sealed generally means nobody can get in it. But
Okay. But for a federal background check, they normally.
Federal background check is definitely going to come up.
Okay. Okay. All right. All right. Now I know it's so much more that we can go through, but I think this has been really, really good. Again, thank you all. We're going into the Q&A period real quick, and I want to try to get through several of these. Thank you for your questions. Again, I'm Dr. Hayes with Crossing Point Church, and we're talking about navigating the criminal justice system. My hope is that you are learning so much from this wonderful attorney, Mary King, who's taken her time to, come on and to talk about, from the arrest, even before that, all the way through bail and bonding out. And so if you could just wrap up right at the end before Q&A, I'm going back. Now I have the attorney or the public defender or, whoever. Now I'm back in front of the judge. Okay. What happens at that particular point when you're back in front of the judge? If it's innocent, if it's a trial, if they take you right from there, what are the options there?
Well, we definitely don't have enough time to cover all of that, but
Okay.
anything can happen. If the prosecutor determines that they don't have probable cause, then they can dismiss the case.
Okay.
If time you can accept a plea. If not, you can get ready for trial. And with trial, there could be numerous appearances before the judge,
Okay.
before the trial takes place even.
Do you, excuse me, do you have the right to say, I want a jury trial like on TV? Or, I've seen the judges, huh?
Yes, you can opt for a jury trial or for a bench trial.
Really?
Bench trial is that before the judge, and a jury trial is that of your peers.
Okay. And so who pays for that? Right? If you go before your peers, a jury trial, I guess that's more you pay the attorney?
Well, no, that doesn't determine how much you're going to pay your attorney. Your the amount you pay your attorney is what's agreed upon for you and your attorney to represent you from the beginning to the end, and that's
Okay.
whether it's a plea or whether it's a trial. The amount you asked earlier, a reasonable amount, that depends on the reputation of the attorney a lot of times and the
Okay.
complexity of your case.
Okay. Okay. All right. Awesome. Awesome. All right. All right. We have a few questions in here, and we'll try to, pepper through them real quick. Again, thank you so much for your knowledge. And I know it's so much more to ask. And let me just run through a couple of these. Okay. Okay. One of the questions is, should I trust people who are passing out cards of attorneys outside the courthouse? And I didn't think you could do that.
You can definitely do that. Are you talking about just general people, or are you talking about the actual attorney?
General people, you know how you come out like downtown Houston, you come out there and people trying to catch you, they all standing on the stairs and they handing out attorney cards. I thought that was bartering. Or is it bartering or?
Oh,
is
no.
that no? Okay.
I wouldn't. I mean, they do that.
Is it barratry?
No, that's kind of like ambulance chasing kind of.
Okay.
Where incident kind of has happened, and you're notifying them before they notify you.
Okay.
But that is just basically advertising.
Okay.
They don't know if you have a criminal charge pending or not. But no, it honestly, it just really depends on the situation. I've been coming out of court, and there was someone that observed me in court, and on the way to the elevator, they asked me for my card.
Okay.
I've seen situations where, just attorneys were outside and people walked up to them and asked them for their cards. So
okay.
You can do that. The majority of the time when I've seen that happen is because they've observed that attorney.
Okay.
Like in court, they've observed them, so they'll say, "Hey, can you get your card?"
Okay.
Just an off person that's not the actual attorney handing out cards. I have heard of that happening, but I wouldn't trust it.
I had a couple of people, and I think you've kind of answered a lot of these. What is reasonable for attorney cost when you're talking about, and they mentioned possession, like, marijuana. I know there are laws right now that, if you have some small amount, a smaller amount.
Yeah, they can issue you a citation.
Right, right. And say it's some type of theft. I know oftentimes, some young kids, younger, they get caught breaking into houses, breaking into cars. Any idea what's reasonable there, or?
Honestly, I couldn't tell you, because when an attorney looks at a case, they're looking at how much time they're going to have to put in that case.
Okay.
And it also, if you take someone who's a baby attorney that's just coming out, they're not going to charge you as much as someone who has 20 years experience, because you're going to be paying for that 20 years of experience.
Okay. All right.
And sometimes it's worth it to pay that 20 years of experience, depending on your situation, because it may be something simple that you're going to them for, but you have not done simple things in the past. You have a record.
Yeah.
And even though this particular situation may be simple, when the prosecutor looks at it, they're like, "Oh, well, this person is a career criminal."
1 second. You faded out on me. Go ahead. All right. Can you hear me? All right. Can you still hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay. All right. So, all right. So it's worth sometimes paying for that experience depending on what the situation is. Does that have to do with, say, if a kid breaks into a car and takes out of there a diamond ring, right? That's worth thousands of dollars, as opposed to taking somebody's, loose change or something, or their car radio or something. Does that um, does that make the charge go higher if what they took out of it was more expensive?
Generally, yes.
Okay, all right. I have another person, and you may have answered this. What happens if you're unhappy with your court attorney?
You can fire them and get someone else.
Okay. Is there a time limit on that? Because, are the courts saying, hey, you need to get somebody in here ASAP, or you can't keep firing your court appointed attorneys? Is that something that the courts are going to look negatively at? That you're not happy with those court appointed attorneys?
Yes, because the whole idea is to move it quickly.
Okay.
So it takes additional time for you to get a new attorney, for that attorney to get up to speed on what's going on, and then to present your case.
Okay.
But if you're hiring attorneys, you are generally the problem.
Okay. Okay. All right. All right. So our time is about up, and thank you all for all the questions. I wish we could answer, even more of them. If I'm not calling out your particular question, it's because it's already been answered, by Attorney King. And maybe I just didn't get a chance to get to all of them because of time constraints. Last one real quick. And you kind of talked about this, but, I think this is something that, I see a lot of individuals run across, a lot of parents, grandparents especially. So what is the process for getting something expunged? Do you do it at the beginning, they're saying? How does that process? Do you do it at the beginning? Do you make a deal with the attorney or the judge, or?
It's generally a separate process that you have to go through after your case has been adjudicated, meaning that your case is over. There's a process you have to go through. And there are several places that offer expungement clinics throughout the year. One recently is the Earl Carl Center at Texas Southern University Thurgood Marshall School of Law. Last week, matter of fact, they just did a seminar on expungements. So they have expungement clinics. The Volunteer Lawyers Association also does expungement clinics. We've done expungement clinics at the NAACP. The Houston Lawyers Association has done expungement clinics. So they're done throughout the year from different organizations. You just need to bring all of your court documentations with you, and the attorney will review it to see if you're eligible for an expungement or disclosure.
Oh, wow. And if you are, then they can take your case and work on expunging. Wow. Okay, fantastic. And it could be, is there a time period in that regard that you can expunge stuff? Maybe it's something that happened years ago, or?
I'm not sure if there's an exact time period. I know I worked with a person about 2 years ago, and they had something on their record from 20 years prior.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Fantastic. All right. Well, fantastic. Man, this has been so informative. This has been so awesome. Thank you, everybody who has tuned in. Remember, you are able to download the Cross app, and you can go back and you'll be able, once we're done, you'll be able to go back and view this entire conversation. And I would encourage you to do that. You can download it, you can hold on to it. It is going to help inform you. And so we are just so thankful at the Cross for Attorney Mary King, and just for your heart, and I know your heart, and you know, for the community and for justice and for doing the right thing. And you know, I've seen you over the years, you know, really stretch yourself thin, you know, trying to certainly keep your word with a lot of indigent individuals. And so, you know, we just appreciate you. And I know you do some private things. If you would like, you know, if somebody wants to contact you, is that an option at this point? Or is it something that they'll have to catch you next time? I know you have a lot of obligations, you know.
They can, and look, I'm gonna put this on you, but they can contact me through the church. I'm doing select things right now, but I'm always willing to help. If I can't help, I'll find you help.
Okay. All right, no problem. All right. So she said, y'all heard her, right? So, you know, if you are needing something along those lines, and this kind of spurred your interest, you know, the church would be happy to pass on some communique to Attorney King. You can go to admin@crossingpoint.info. admin@crossingpoint.info. And we'll see about getting that over to her. All right. Well, with that said, I again thank you, Attorney King. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. What a blessing it has been. Don't forget that trust, as Romans chapter 13 says, that those who do right have no fear of the law. So, you know, there are always bad guys out there. There are always people who are abusive to in their positions of authority, but there are also great people who work in the legal system, like Attorney King and many, many others. Trust God to lead you to the right people, and you know, and continue to stay prayerful. Do your part. Encourage your kids, encourage each other, your friends, to do what is right. Okay? All right. Well, God bless you. We look forward to getting your emails, and, you know, certainly check out the church, see what we're doing. We're trying to change the world. And at the Cross, we always talk about loving big. All right? God bless you.
Before we go?
Yes.
Please vote.
Oh, vote. Vote. That's right. Vote. Vote, 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 vote. Like your life depended on it. Because it probably does, right? Vote, vote, vote. All right. All right. Thank you so much.